Good morning, everyone. Today is Thursday, July 23rd, 2026, and we are in Job 1. I was craving for Old Testament because we've been doing a lot of New Testament verses. So Job is right before Psalms. So let's start with heart. No. Okay, R. What about round? Okay, I'm gonna guess crown. No, can't even be crown. Crony, or I don't think it's crony. That's Job was not a crony. Um, or at least that doesn't describe him. Bron. Hmm. Irony? No, can't be irony. Wrong. Oh, he didn't do any wrong. He was always right. Grab Job 1 turns to save some time. Okay, Job 1:22. In all this, Job did not sin or charge God with wrong. Okay, that could have been deduced much earlier. Job's character and wealth, we learn, and Satan allowed to test Job. Satan takes Job's property and children. Wow. Okay, let's read until the end because that's where that verse is. Now there was a day when his sons and daughters were eating and drinking wine in their oldest brother's house, and there came a messenger to Job and said, the oxen were plowing and the donkeys feeding beside them. And the Sabeans fell upon them and took them and struck down the servants with the edge of the sword, and I alone have escaped to tell you. While he was yet speaking, there came another and said, the fire of God fell from heaven and burned up the sheep and the servants and consumed them, and I alone have escaped to tell you. While he was yet speaking, there came another and said, the Chaldeans formed three groups and made a raid on the camels, and took them and struck down the servants with the edge of the sword, and I alone have escaped to tell you. While he was yet speaking, there came another and said, your sons and daughters were eating and drinking wine in their oldest brother's house. And behold, a great wind came across the wilderness and struck the four corners of the house, and it fell upon the young people, and they are dead, and I alone have escaped to tell you. Then Job arose and tore his robe and shaved his head and fell on the ground and worshipped. And he said, naked I came from my mother's womb, and naked shall I return. The Lord gave, and the Lord has taken away. Blessed be the name of the Lord. In all this, Job did not sin or charge God with wrong. Wow, how can we even emulate Job even a little bit today? That is hard. My mom always said this kind of line, verse 21, but I never really understood the context, right? Until we see Job's example of how he really emulated that. All right, so the life lesson principle today is in verse 1, sorry, chapter 1, verse 20. Job arose, tore his robe, and shaved his head, and he fell to the ground and worshipped. When tragedy strikes, believers hurt just as much as anyone else. They grieve, but not as others who have hope. Sorry, but not as others who have no hope. That is in First Thessalonians 4:13. We can worship even in tragedy because nothing can separate us from God and his love. That is Romans 8:35 to 39. All right, blessed be God's name today, and may we uh yeah, just remember Job's example. And I'm just thinking maybe tomorrow we can incorporate some music background worship, while we do this. All right, if I remember. But yeah, take care. God bless. See you tomorrow.